Get started on the afternoon session. We're on agenda item 21, and 21 includes the reports, recommendation, and possible actions regarding vocational nursing and psychiatric technician programs. There's 7 items or 7 programs under agenda item 21, and therefore reconsideration on provisional approval. We're going to start with 21A-1, Advanced Medical School of Nursing, Pittsburgh Vocational Nursing Program. Reconsideration of approval, Jessica Gomez, Nursing Education Consultant. Thank you, Jessica. We've received the report and we've reviewed the report. Do the board members have any questions regarding the report for the nurse consultant?
I just have one for Ms. Gomez. Ms. Gomez, I remember this school and I just want to confirm with you that the site issue, the facilities issues have been taken care of completely?
Yes, they have.
Thank you.
Is there any further question from board members for the NEC? Is there a representative from Advanced Medical School of Nursing and Pittsburgh Vocational Nursing Program present? If we could have you state your name and professional title and whether or not you agree with the NEC's recommendations.
Hi, yes, my name is Melissa Gove, and I'm the Acting Director of Nursing for the campus. And I've discussed all the issues with Ms. Gomez in length, and we agree with them. And we're very grateful for all of her assistance.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions for the school?
Just one comment. I'm glad that you did turn things around at your school. And I agree with you that you should be grateful to Ms. Gomez. I feel like she's been very generous with your school
Yes.
over this past bit. So congratulations on making improvements.
Thank you.
I do. Before you move, and I see you also have someone else with you.
Yes, Ike Maneko,
And the owner, the director.
that is correct.
We hope you've also thought about steps in the future to ensure we don't find this school in the condition we did several months ago, and that there is a plan in place to ensure continued success.
Absolutely, we do have a plan in place, and working with Mrs. Gomez, she's been awesome, helping us out every minute of the way. So working with her, we know we don't have any problems. We will not have any problems.
Thank you.
Any further discussion from the board? Is there a motion?
I would move to accept the NEC's report regarding Advanced Medical School of Nursing, Pittsburgh.
I second.
So we have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion from board members? Any public comment? Seeing none. The motion was made by John to accept the NEC's recommendation, and it was seconded by Bernice. And we're going to do a roll call vote, starting with Cheryl.
Aye. Yes.
Samantha?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Bernice?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. We accept the NEC's recommendations.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that brings us to 21A2, Angela Vocational.
Sorry.
That happens. I keep thinking it's me. I'm like, wait a minute.
Angeles College Vocational Nursing Program. This is for reconsideration of provisional approval, Faye Silverman, Nurse Education Consultant. Thank you, Faye. We've received your report and reviewed it. Do board members have any questions for the NEC?
One quick one. Faye, if I'm reading your report correctly, it appears to me your recommendation is to actually end the provisional
It
approval
is.
and to give full approval to this.
It is. They've had 4 consecutive quarters at this point with pass rates within the regulations.
Thank you. Any more board members have questions for Faye? Seeing none, is there a representative from Angeles College Vocational Nursing Program present? If we could have you state your name and professional title and whether or not you agree with the NEC's recommendation. Thank you.
Hello, I am Dr. Mary McHugh. I am the program director at Angeles College. I'm the director of the VN program at Angeles College. And yes, we do agree with the NEC's recommendations.
Samantha?
Dr. McHugh, I would just say congratulations to you. Shows that there is the opportunity to improve and to actually come off of provisional approval, and it's quite a exciting step for your program. So congratulations.
Thank you. We are not only excited, we are extremely grateful to our 2 wonderful NECs who advised and guided us, and of course to the board for its many considerations of our requests.
Do board members have any questions or comments for the school? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I would move to accept the NEC's recommendation related to Angeles College of Nursing.
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, the motion made by John is to accept the NEC's recommendations, and it was seconded by Samantha. And we'll do a roll call vote. Cheryl?
Yes.
Samantha?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Bernice?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Alita? The motion carries. It was unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So that brings us to 21A3, Casa Loma College Van Nuys Vocational Nursing Program. Consideration of request to admit students. Faye Silverman, Nurse Education Consultant. We've received your report and reviewed it.
I would like to make a comment. So one of the violations that they had received, violation number 1, was in reference to an evaluation and methodology for curriculum. Since the date that the report was written, the director has submitted staff meetings for the last year. Although the staff meetings do not efficiently reflect student progress, nor do they reflect clinical evaluation or course evaluation, I did want the board to note that they did submit the faculty meetings, and no, it does not change anything. The violation still exists, and it does not change my opinion. No, it is not corrected, but I just wanted the board to know that they did submit staff meeting minutes, but the staff meeting minutes were gone through, and they do not reflect evaluation of the curriculum.
Do board members have any comments or questions for the NEC? Seeing none, is there a representative from Casa Loma College Van Nuys Vocational Nursing Program? If you could state your name and your professional title and whether or not you agree with the NEC's recommendation.
My name is Greg Malone. I'm the president of the school. I'm representing the director of nursing who was not able to make it up here apparently. I do have her notes. We do not agree with the recommendation. I would like to explain why.
Okay.
Okay. We began making changes to our program in June of 2016 and have been consistently making changes through September of 2017 under the guidance of the NECs. We only have one cohort running right now that has all the changes recommended and approved by the NECs implemented in it. It started January 2017. And it will graduate January 2018. What we are requesting is a deferral of your vote to allow this cohort with the changes in it to graduate and test They should test by June of 2018. At that time, we'll know whether the changes that were implemented are working, and then we would request a vote to approve us for a new cohort. This is based on the fact that sound educational theory would dictate that you can't assess our program with the changes in it recommended by your NEC until a cohort that reflects those changes graduates and tests. We only have one cohort that has those changes, and it hasn't graduated yet. The entire cohort will graduate, and we believe they will all test. There's 12 students remaining in the program. We also believe it's common sense that since the changes were recommended and approved by the NECs, that we be given the opportunity to allow this cohort to graduate and test. If they do not pass at a sufficiently high rate, we would agree with a recommendation to terminate the program. If they do pass at an appropriate rate, then we would like the program extended. There has been significant progress in the program. January to March of 2016, our quarterly passing rate was 20%. The next quarter, 43%. 39%, 46%, 50%, 58%. We were within 10 points of the statewide rate the second quarter of 2017. We had a bad third quarter. We had 38. That's 3 out of 8 testing. We believe we had 3 outliers in that group. One woman, 27 years ago, graduated, never tested, and has come back. Another one, 21 years ago, came back. And another one 9 years ago. So if you eliminated those 3, we would be at 60% for the quarter. So what we are asking again is that you defer your vote to close the program, allow this cohort to graduate and test, and then revisit this in June of 2018.
I have a question.
That's it.
Samantha?
Good afternoon. I have a question. This cohort that you're talking about, when are they slated to graduate?
The end of January of 2018. We were supposed to be on the agenda for that period, and then we were moved back to the November. Again, we've only had one cohort with the full changes that were proposed.
Any other board members, Cheryl?
Yes. I don't believe you were here earlier, but I have questions about your pass rate. Do you know the board just passed a motion to set the pass rate at 75%, and the percentages you talked about sounded much lower than that? What are you doing to address your pass rate at your school?
Well, we only have one cohort operating. It hasn't graduated. We can't address the passing rate until that cohort graduates.
Okay, I thought I heard you.
Hold on. To look back at our older cohorts that are not passing at the appropriate rate would be somewhat foolish, because none of those reflect the changes that Ms. Silverman has worked with our director to implement in the program. So even though they are passing at lower rates, they don't have these updates, changes, and corrections in them. And as a consequence, they probably are passing at a lower rate.
And
I did want to point out...
Are you projecting that this cohort that you're referring to, are you projecting that they would be able to pass at a higher rate than the rates you had in the past?
Easily, yes.
And why is that? What is the difference? Because of what you've implemented at the direction of
Substantial
the NECs?
changes have been made to the program, including the implementation of a pre-nursing program, which the students must pass before they're eligible to enter the program. We were approved for a start of 30 with this cohort. We did not admit 30. I believe we admitted 18. We have terminated down to 12. It's a small group. They should do well. I did want to point out that for the 3 prior cohorts, we are at an 80% pass and placement rate. That may not be on the first attempt, but they are passing and they are all placing. So that's 31 out of, I believe it's 39. I think she has a, do you have a question?
This confused me. So 80% would be a good first time pass rate. That's what we're talking about. That would be an appropriate first time. 80% of your graduates in total get jobs. Is that what you're saying? A placement?
No. What I said was they have passed the exam. 80% of the last 3 cohorts prior to this one have passed the exam, first, second attempt.
On
All of those
subsequent.
that passed are placed.
So it's subsequent attempts, maybe second or
Yes.
third time when they pass.
And that, I believe, is an issue you bring, or you have brought to you repeatedly by the Southern California directors. I have one of your data sheets. So when we try to track our students, the students do not report back into us once they graduate with the frequency we would like. The document we get from you is fully redacted, so nothing allows us to figure out which cohort. Have you guys seen this? Do you see these reports we all get? All the cohort detail is blacked out. You can't tell who they are. You can't tell which cohort they graduated with. I think, Ms. Silverman, you know the report. This is the quarterly where it blacks. So we have 13 cohorts down the side that we had tested in the past 12 months. We have no idea which cohorts they were, which students they were, because we don't have the ability to track them. We are now down to 12 students. That's why I'm asking you to defer your action today to give this group a chance to pass. If they don't pass at the 75% or higher rate, then we would agree with the recommendation to terminate the program.
Thank you for the clarification. I just want to make sure I'm understanding. The group to which we're referring will finish January of 2018.
Yes.
Is there a date specific?
I don't have this specific date.
Okay. Let me explain what I'm asking. Because the recommendation would be effective January 31 of 2018.
I believe Ms. Silverman.
Yes, sir.
Pardon?
Go right ahead, please.
I believe Ms. Silverman set that date to accommodate their graduation date.
And so I just want to emphasize that is to accommodate the graduation rate. And I can't help but wonder as I read through some of the other violations and concerns that were raised, if it weren't for the hard work of the NECs and their interaction, would they have ever been dealt with? Like with the curriculum, would there have been a review and update of program? Were you not, as a school, as a program, concerned about your own pass rates?
I think the answer to that is yes, it would have been done. It may not have been done with the speed with which it was done under the guidance of the NEC. We are, of course, worried about the program. She was working with our new director of nursing that was hired after your May of 2016 meeting and was only hired when this January 2017 cohort was approved. Otherwise, she would not have been hired. We would have made the changes, they just may not have been made as quickly. And I think that's the same question that everybody who's up here today would be addressing. Everybody makes changes, but they don't necessarily make them as quickly as the NEC would prefer they be made. Otherwise, none of us would be on provisional accreditation.
Well, one of our challenges as board members, we are sworn to protect the safety of the public, and that also translates into our review of programs and our responsibility for ensuring that programs meet statute and criteria. I know it's always difficult to hear this, but when there's such a pattern of low pass rate, it is very troubling for us as a board.
I believe if you go back and look at older pass rates, other than the more recent ones, you would see a completely different pattern. We had very good rates in the past. The more recent rates are not good, and they have now been corrected, we believe. You're never going to have a consistent period where everything is up. If you look, our low period was the first quarter of 2016 at 20%. By the second quarter of 2017, we were at 58, which was within 10 points of the statewide average of 68. We then had a bad third quarter. We have no other classes graduating. We do not have the ability, because we can't get the information, to track the number of students that remain outstanding and untested. If they haven't tested and passed, we don't know whether they've fallen off the face of the earth or just decided not to become a nurse.
I have a question of the NEC.
Okay, John.
Ms. Silverman, you've heard the testimony of the program rep, who indicated that there were changes implemented with the curriculum approved by the NEC, and these changes were applied to the January 27th cohort.
Yes.
Would that change the recommendations?
I would have rather seen, since they were put on provisional, an increase in their NCLEX pass annual rate. And when they were put on provisional, their pass rate was 43% for the year. And this last quarter, they were only 49% for the year. And so not only do I feel that the school has a responsibility to this cohort, but they have a responsibility to the students that were graduating or have graduated, to help them get through NCLEX examination. And I don't see that has been effective.
That
No,
actually
that
is
did
not
not.
the case.
That did not change my opinion.
Okay, that actually is not the case. We do contact the students. We send out notices to every student in the open cohort periods to have them come back and take an NCLEX review with us. We offer the NCLEX review free to all of them. We have hired several different services over a period of the year and a half to come in and put on these NCLEX reviews. And it's a matter of being able to figure out which students have not tested for the first time. If we catch them after they fail, they don't show up on your records. You don't track second time passing. For our accreditation, we track second, third, fourth, fifth. Until they pass and are placed, we are responsible for them. So we continue to work on those groups. That's why
Madam President, I would ask that you admonish the gentleman not to interrupt the board members, to engage in filibustering, or to engage in repetitive comment.
We need to have one person speaking at a time so that everybody can hear what that person has to say.
Did I interrupt?
Well, when Faye was finishing, you spoke out.
I thought she paused and was finished. I apologize for that. If she has more, I'll repeat what I said.
No, I don't have any more.
Board members, I need to remind you also, as stated in the report, the poor pass rates go beyond 2016. The data in the report says the first quarter of 2015. So that the poor pass rates start January of 2015 and go through the end of the report. The other thing, as of the first quarter of 2015, the average annual pass rate, according to the data here, is 59%. Based upon the very last quarter of this year, quarter 3, the data is shows up average annual pass rate of 49%. So that rather than increase, there's a decrease in the pass rate. And as Ms. Silverman has said, in addition to making revisions in the curriculum for future classes, programs also have the responsibility to ensure that currently enrolled students are receiving an adequate education by a current curriculum that includes the information necessary to pass the exam. And that's for board members.
That is consistent with what I stated, that we have had bad passing rates more recently, but if you go back further than your report shows, we did have very good passing rates. We cannot implement the changes that were recommended in the older periods once the students have graduated. All we can do is hope to work with them to pass the exam. As I said also, our accrediting agency is not concerned whether we have a first-time pass or a sixth-time pass, as long as the student passes and is placed. The accrediting agency wants placement in the field of training. But again, we're not disputing her recommendation. What we're asking is a deferral of your vote to give this cohort a chance to pass so that we can see if the changes are viable and the students pass at the appropriate percentage, then we would come back and request another cohort at that point. We're not asking for a cohort now. We're willing to defer till June of 2018.
I have a different question. You have referred several times to, and I will quote, our accrediting body. I just want to make sure I'm thinking of the same group you are. To which group are you referring?
The Accrediting Bureau for Health Education Schools.
Thank you.
That's how the students receive funding to attend.
Just want to make sure I'm thinking of and understand what you're referring to.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Any further questions from board members? Paula?
Mrs. Silverman, will there be any harm to the current cohort if the extension is not recommended? I'm sorry,
I
it
don't
says
understand the
extension of
question.
provisional approval is not recommended.
The extension is not recommended, and we were asking for revocation. The date of revocation is the day after the class graduates, so they will be able to test and know there will not be any
Harm to the
harm
student.
to the students. That's why the date was picked.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
One other point of clarification, the presenter has asked for a deferral of a decision, and that, quite frankly, would not be an option, I don't believe, because your approval ends based upon the language and the action taken by the board at the last meeting. The program's provisional approval was extended for 1 year, so at the end of November of this year, that's it. So a deferral won't do you any good. There has to be a decision. You may extend it or revoke.
May I make a question? Using the term deferral, I don't know what your technical terms are. I'm asking for you to allow the program to remain viable until the cohort tests. Whether you call it a deferral or an extension, we would like whichever one is appropriate in the circumstance.
Right. My comments in terms of deferral were based upon your presentation that you were asking for a deferral. So,
I didn't
and that's the point that my job is to clarify that for the board members.
Thank you.
So, I have a question, Faye. So if this says that the provisional approval was only through November 30th of 2017, it says to revoke the provisional approval of Casa Loma Van Nuys Vocational Nursing Program effective January 31st, 2018. Wouldn't we have to extend the provisional from November 30th of 2017 to January 31st of 2018? Because their provisional approval expires
That is
on November
correct.
30th.
That is correct.
So that would be an amendment to your recommendation that is on here currently, correct? Or it would have to be.
We would have to extend the provisional status through January 30th or 31st and then revoke them on the 31st.
So, if I understand what just happened, we need to extend regardless.
Their
At this point.
provisional is up this month. So yes, we need to extend through the 31st, then revoke them on the 31st, which would be after the class graduates.
Got it. And what kind of extension are you asking for?
I would like the program extended until the students that graduate at the end of January have the ability to test, which we believe will occur in the second quarter of 2018. So we were asking for the extension to June 30, 2018.
Thank you.
John?
I'm ready to make a motion.
The question I asked about the accrediting body comes back again. Technically, January 18th and what we handle here has nothing to do directly from our viewpoint with the accrediting body you're referring to. Did I hear you correctly in your response? You said that's the body that funds the students?
Not quite. That is the body that allows us to get funding for the students. ABHES is approved by the Department of Education to work with us to grant financial aid to the students.
Thank you.
John?
Ready to make a motion if we're prepared for that. I would move to accept the NEC's report regarding Casaloma College as submitted with the additional item indicated by the NEC to extend the provisional status until the date of revocation, January 31st, 2018.
So there's a motion and a second. Is there any comment from board members? Further comment from board members? Any public comment on that? Seeing none, hearing none. So it's been moved by John to accept the NEC report with the addition to extend the provisional approval until January 31st, 2018, and it's been seconded by Bernice. We will do roll call vote. Cheryl?
Yes.
Samantha?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Bernice?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
No.
Alita? So the motion carries with one no. And thank you. So we're moving on to 21A for Healthcare Career College Vocational Nursing Program. Reconsideration of provisional approval. Jessica Gomez, any nursing education consultant. Thank you. We've received your report and reviewed it. Do any of the board members have any questions for Jessica about the report? You have questions for Jessica?
I do, just one.
Apologize.
Jessica, I believe this one also is to be full approval, to be taken off of provisional and issued a full 4-year approval?
Yes, it is.
Is there a representative from the Healthcare Career College of Vocational Nursing Program present? If there is, can we have you state your name and whether or not you agree with the NEC's recommendation?
I'm Tina Turpening, Director of Nursing. I'm Amita Garg, Campus President. And obviously we accept the recommendation.
You never know. Do board members have any question for either the NEC or the school?
I just wanted to congratulate you ladies on turning your school around and getting full approval back.
Any further discussion? Seeing none,
I would move to accept the NEC's report regarding Healthcare Career College as submitted.
so there's been a motion and a second. Do board members have further discussion? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, so the motion was made by John to accept the NEC's report as written, and it was seconded by Samantha. And we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Cheryl.
Yes.
Samantha?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Bernice?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
The motion carries. It was unanimous. Thank you. Now we're at 21A5, Shasta Community College Vocational Nursing Program. Reconsideration of provisional approval, Margarita Valdez, Nursing Education Consultant. Thank you, Margarita. We've received your report and reviewed it. Do board members have any questions for the NEC regarding the report? Seeing none. Is there a representative from Shasta Community College Vocational Nursing Program present? If we could have you state your name and professional title and let us know whether or not you agree with NEC's recommendation.
Good afternoon. I'm Nancy Skaggs, the director of Shasta College Vocational Nursing Program.
And my name is Kathy Royce. I'm the Dean for Health Sciences.
And I can't even talk, I'm sorry. We agree with the recommendation on behalf of Ms. Valdez.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions for either the nurse education consultant or the school? Or comments?
I have one question. I'm not sure if it's for Ms. Valdez or for Ms. Skagg. It just seems odd that you haven't had any candidates test for 3 quarters. Why would that be?
I didn't know if you wanted me to address that
Anyone who has an answer?
Okay. We actually have our program runs for 18 months, so we only have one cohort, which is actually why we were very excited with the 2-year recommendation, because that actually gives us the opportunity to have this cohort that finishes next month test in the spring, and then the following test.
You don't run consecutive cohorts. You just
We
run.
do not.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay.
They have been very motivated to work. They have put, why does this not? They have put actions in place, curriculum revisions, policy revisions, action plans to assist their graduates. And we discussed the extension to give them and us the opportunity to evaluate the effects of all their actions.
I move to accept the NEC recommendation.
I'll second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, is there any public comment on it? Seeing none, so it's been moved by Samantha and seconded by John to accept the NEC's recommendations. And we'll start with Cheryl.
Yes.
Samantha?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Bernice?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
So the motion carries. It was unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So we are at 21A6, Homestead School Incorporated Vocational Nursing Program, Reconsideration of Provisional Approval, Margarita Valdez, Nursing Education Consultant. Thank you, Margarita. We've received your report and reviewed. Do any of the board members have any questions for Margarita? Seeing none, is there a representative from Homestead School Incorporated present. If we could have you state your name and title and whether or not you agree with the NEC's recommendation.
Good afternoon. My name is Adele Blanco. I'm the Director of Nursing for Homestead Schools Incorporated. Definitely agree with Margarita's recommendation.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions or comments for the school?
Good afternoon. I see that your last
Afternoon.
I see that your last quarter you had 8 out of 8 pass.
Yes.
So hopefully that's a sign of good things to come.
Oh.
Yes.
Any other comments by board members? Seeing none, is there a motion? Well, Paula, sorry.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about the class that had 8 and passed 8?
What we did was we followed them very carefully after they graduated. We kind of like held hands with them, and then we had like, I personally did a review with them and just drill them with how to pass the NCLEX on the first try.
Got it.
And that, I'm sorry, and that was after graduation?
Yes, after
Okay.
graduation.
So you
Yeah.
cultivated the relationship with the student after graduation?
No, we started spotting in who are the students are really very motivated and has a high possibility of passing, and that's when we have a tendency to focus on the problematic students, but this time we focus on the students that really needed to be focused on, and that's
My point is you continued a relationship
Yes.
even after graduation.
yes, and they are very, very they work very closely with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and your hard work is showing, and thank you for telling us how the success was achieved.
Thank you. I would like to, before you vote, I would just like to thank Margarita Valdez for who works hard and guide me and support me as a director. That's very important. Also with Cheryl Anderson, the interim director, of course, you, the boards. And I don't forget my Homestead administration, faculty, and staff for the strong motivation and commitment to the program and student success.
Do board members have any further comment or motion?
I move to accept the NEC recommendation.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, public comment? Seeing none. So the motion was made by Samantha and seconded by John to accept the NEC's recommendation. We'll do a vote. Alita? Paul?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Samantha?
Yes.
And Cheryl?
Yes.
Motion carries. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to 21A7, Mission College Psychiatric Technician Program, Reconsideration of Provisional Approval, Margarita Valdez, Nursing Education Consultant. Thank you. We've received your report and have reviewed it. Do any board members have any questions for Margarita?
Just one. Ms. Valdez, in looking at the documents that you provided, am I correct in saying the school has no outstanding violations other than pass rate? So the
They're working toward for
Do any other board members have any questions? Being none, is there a representative from Mission College Psychiatric Technician Program present? And please state your name and professional title for us, and if you agree or disagree with the NEC's recommendation.
I'm Marsha Oliver. I'm the interim director for the Psych Tech program at Mission College.
And I'm Dr. Carol Friedman, and I'm the Dean of Nursing and Health Occupation Programs.
And yes, we agree with her.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions for either the school or the NEC?
I have a question. I noticed last quarter you didn't have any candidates testing. Is that because of your cohort situation?
Yes, we're like Shasta. We finish a whole cohort and then take in the new one.
So will you have any testing next quarter?
Yes, we should. Hopefully, the ones that will be graduating in December, we should have a whole huge. Our group should test in.
And how many are graduating?
13.
And I'd just like to ask one question to you. The pass rates, I think they're trending up, but 75, 67, and then 100. What is the main thing that you have implemented to help increase the board scores?
We've increased the NCLEX style testing and stuff throughout the classroom, and in that, plus working with them individually, anybody who scores less than 75% on any test or exam.
So you caught me a little off guard when you said NCLEX.
Well, I'm sorry, state board type review
the
questions.
California licensure.
I teach in the VN program too, so
okay.
Sorry.
Make that clear.
No,
so
state board.
You're not testing them on NCLEX.
No. State those style questions. We have increased that type of use in the classroom.
Like the California Psychiatric licensure exam. Okay,
correct.
Thank you.
In fact, they took their pre-test today, 180 questions.
But,
Don't know how they did yet.
Right. And same time frame, same everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything just like they do. So, and then I also have several other online ones for them to continue to practice. Actually, 240 questions.
Good. Thank you.
Do any other board members have any questions? Seeing none, is there motion?
Move to accept the NEC recommendation.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second. Motion made by Samantha, seconded by Cheryl to accept the NEC's recommendation. We'll do a roll call vote. Alita?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
It's unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're on 21B, 1 Northwest College Pomona Vocational Nursing Program, consideration to admit students by a program on provisional approval. Faye Silverman, NEC. We've received your, thank you Faye, we've received your report and reviewed it. Do any board members have any questions for Faye? Seeing none, is there a representative from the school, Northwest College Pomona Vocational Nursing Program present?
Good afternoon. I'm Adnan Al-Muazzin. I'm the program director, and I accept the NAC recommendations.
Okay, do any board members have any questions or comments for the school?
I have one quick question. Good afternoon. I noticed since October 2015, when you had a 30% pass rate, that you've trended up, but you're now last quarter was currently 86. That's quite an achievement. Yes. What is your plan to continue that trending forward, that movement to increase the pass rate?
Yeah, we've implemented several correction plans or steps. We've reviewed the IP, the curriculum, and we changed the academic instructors, the theory instructors, trained them for the new IP. The strict implementation of the online tools through the HESI courses that's integrated in the curriculum, the NCLEX review at the end of the program, the online training for the NCLEX, all that really helped to tracking the graduates during the waiting time. All that steps have really helped to have a steady improvement in the NCLEX pass rates. At least for the last 4 quarters.
Good, thank you.
any further questions from board members? Seeing none and hearing none?
I move that we accept the NEC's report.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none. The motion made by Cheryl and seconded by Samantha is to accept the NEC's recommendation. We'll start with Alita.
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
It's unanimous. The motion carries, and
Thank you.
thank you. So that brings us to 21B2, Santa Barbara Business College Rancho Mirage Vocational Nursing Program. Consideration of request to admit students by a program on provisional approval. Beth DeYoung, Nursing Education Consultant. Thank you, Beth, for the report. We've received it and reviewed it. Do any board members have any questions for?
Ms. DeYoung, does this school have any outstanding violations?
No, just the pass rates are the reason why they were placed on provisional approval.
Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none. Is there a representative from the school?
Good afternoon. My name is Timothy Ryan. I'm the Director of Nursing at Santa Barbara Business College Vocational Nurse Program.
And do you agree with the NEC's recommendation?
I agree.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions or comments for the school or NEC? And
I move that we accept the NEC's recommendation.
Second.
so there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, any public comment?
I would just like to thank Ms. DeYoung for all her work and support she showed to our college and to myself while I've been in this program and moving forward.
So there's a motion made by Cheryl and seconded by Bernice to accept the NEC's recommendation. We'll do a roll call vote. Cheryl?
Yes.
Samantha? I'm a yes. Bernice?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
The motion carries. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are on agenda item number 22, Executive Officer's Report. Oh. This is the report on summary of the executive officer's decisions for vocational nursing programs and psychiatric technicians. We should have the report.
Yes.
And we've reviewed it. Do board members have any questions for Cheryl? Or Brian? Seeing none. Is there a motion?
I move to accept the executive officer's report on decisions for VN and PT programs.
I'll second. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by board? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, so the motion is made by Samantha, seconded by myself to accept the Executive officers' reports on decisions for vocational nursing and psychiatric technician programs. Cheryl?
Yes.
Samantha?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Bernice?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Agenda item number 23, the executive officer's report.
Do we want to do 16? It was moved to before 23. It will be combined.
It's
Got it.
combined with 23.
Thank you.
Board members, you have the Education Division report in front of you that was completed by Ms. Schumann, the retired annuitant during my absence. Do you have any questions regarding that report? You will know that it does not include all of the information that you typically get, and that's because she did not have access to that information. I will provide that to you for your February meeting. Based upon this, are there any other questions that you have? Enforcement.
First off, before I get to my report, I want to thank the enforcement management team, board enforcement staff, as well as DFI for their tireless work in making headway every day, working above and beyond every single day. Every week I send to the enforcement committee weekly metrics of our statistics, and it's shown a marked increase. And it's been a trend going forward, and one that I imagine to be going so every week after. So there has been a lot of progress within enforcement. In terms of vacancies, currently there are 37 total positions within enforcement. We have 3 vacancies, or an 8% vacancy rate, which is 16% lower than the 24% noted at August board meeting. Our current vacancies include 1 supervising special investigator 1, 1 special investigator, and 1 SSA in probations. There were 3 vacancies in complaints, but offers have been made early this week. The 1 supervising special investigator interviews have concluded yesterday, and I hope to make a decision by early first week of December. At August board meeting, there were concerns about previously blanket closures at the intake and non-sworn level. Specifically, at the intake level, there were 110 cases closed prematurely. Non-sworn staff also prematurely closed 49 cases with a notice of warning. Board staff has looked at all these cases on an individual basis. The majority of them were closed appropriately, while the others were reopened for further review and investigation. To ensure this doesn't happen again, internal controls have been installed. Upper management, partnering with DFI, has installed internal controls to ensure integrity. All intake cases that are opened at the technician level, where it goes to a lead analyst or a lead intake analyst for secondary review. Cases that are marked for closure are reviewed by the complaint unit manager as well as DFI. Upper management and DFI are reviewing all non-sworn staff reports prior to signing off. Non-sworn staff do not make recommendations on their cases. It is given to a separate unit where an independent decision is made. Non-sworn staff, their main purpose is as fact finders. It is given to the complaints unit where they will make a recommendation and an appropriate determination, whether to close the notice of warning, close with no merit, citation, or transfer or transmit to the AG. On October 4th, the Enforcement Committee met to discuss the Enforcement Monitor's recommendations as outlined in his Phase 2 report. There were over 20 plus recommendations in which the board staff went over progress. Many of the items are currently in progress, and the Enforcement Committee has developed timelines to implement. These responses with formal timeframes will be reflected in the board's response to the enforcement monitor's final report. I ask that you now look at the second page that has all the board statistics. The Enforcement Division is still in the midst of great change, and this can be seen in the fluctuation in different areas of the enforcement stats. The number of cases assigned for investigation has increased by 13% over the previous quarter. This reflects cases that were originally closed at intake and then reopened after a review of DFI. However, it also reflects new intake procedures that have lowered the number of cases being closed at intake. Pending cases have increased by approximately 31% from 515 last quarter to 856. This was due to the reopening of all CLPX cases, and focus has been shifted to this load, as well as the highest aging cases. To refresh memory, CLPX is a breeze code that's assigned to cases that are closed pending adjudication. Technically, they're not really closed. For example, say there's a DUI. The outcome in terms of the court proceedings will not happen for a period of time. So it was closed temporarily in the past and then reopened once the court had its final determination. The board monitor had recommended that we not use this case activity code further. So we've reopened all those cases and retired that activity code. With the reopening of CLPX cases, it's actually having a positive effect. I've run the numbers halfway through the week and we have a surge in closed cases. The downside of CLPX activity codes is once it was applied as a closure, it disappeared off the queue of an individual analyst. They wouldn't be able to keep track of it. So now by reopening it causes more accountability for management as well as staff to kind of relook at cases that may have slipped through the cracks. The total number of cases closed in enforcement has risen by 11% over the previous quarter. We expect this to continue to rise as enforcement processes are streamlined. 9 citations were issued at the end of quarter 1 after several months where the Cite and Fine program was not operational. Now that the Cite and Fine program is operational, we expect that number to increase greatly in the next quarter. That concludes my report.
I just wanted to also echo what Mr. Vu was saying, especially with the CPLX code. This is actually an improvement in processes, and this is correcting a mistake and allowing us to have better and more accurate data. I think you would agree, yes? Better and more accurate data, and this gives us a truer and better picture, clearer picture of what's going on so we can track things in the future in accordance with Mr. Frank's recommendation and in a proper way. So this is actually making some corrections. Because of the corrections, there was, like Mr. Vu said, a small spike, but this is actually a rewriting, and it will be improvement in the long term.
Hi, thank you so much for the report. I really appreciated the numbers, and maybe everybody knows all the acronyms. Is there a place where I can get like the acronyms for what each of these mean on the table?
I can definitely send that to you. But for the next report, I can definitely have a key at the bottom too to kind of.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I echo what Samantha said, which is thank you so much for this report. It looks like there's a lot of detail that's going into these reports, and we appreciate it.
I would also be remiss if I didn't say thank you to the enforcement team, including everyone up here and the staff back at board. They have been working very diligently, and thank you. Mr. Vu hit the ground running. How long have you been with us now, Mr. Vu?
A little bit over 3 months.
3 months? And I think my perception is it's a good working team, and everyone's on board, so I thank everyone.
Board comments? Thank you. I do agree with Samantha. It's a tremendous team. And Stephanie. We're glad that she's here to help us. Well, we want to claim her. She's our team, you know.
But actually, Madam President, this is a great example of the collaboration we spoke about earlier this morning.
Yes.
and it's working together. It's not talking about we're going to get together. It's the actual doing the work together. And earlier, I don't know if all of you heard, but just to repeat, to applaud you, this is an example of what we hope other areas will be doing, as DOE was suggesting they're going to work more collaboratively with us. So you are a model. We thought you were an exemplary model of how it goes.
Thank you.
And I said DOA, I meant DCA. Shame on me.
I thought you said DOI. I'm like, wait a minute.
No.
Thank you. So that brings us to 23C. I mean, I could have, but.
Licensing.
Hey. This is the Administration and Licensing Division report. I'm going to go ahead and speak on behalf of Rochelle Johnson, our Admin and Support Services Manager. Our reports combined. So I'll go ahead and do it for her and then start with mine. So the Admin and Support Services staffing, we have new staff and some vacancies in this area. Since the last board meeting, the admin division has made conditional offers to fill 2 vacancies. The AGPA board analyst will start on Monday. I believe that's the 20th of November. And then also the office assistant for the mailroom. And I don't have the date of her start, but an offer has been made. Currently, the division, and we're talking about admin and support services, has 2 true vacancies. Since the offers have been made, we're calling those really no longer vacancies. And then there's also an office tech and reception staff that one of the receptions have promoted. So this one is filling that position. And then office service supervisor 3, the permanent employee in that position is doing a training and development for the budget analyst. So there were a couple issues with posting this position because it would be a limited term, and Rochelle is working with HR to do a job analysis to have a new exam posted for that. In my area, in the valuations and licensing, since the last board meeting, I have filled 1 vacancy, and that was with an internal an internal employee who was my program tech 2, and she promoted to a SSA, leaving me with a vacancy in the PT2. And I also have another PT2 vacancy due to a promotion with that employee to enforcement. I did candidate interviews for one of the PT2s and moved forward the candidate to HR, and it's pending MQ qualifications check. I should hear something by next week. I also have an office tech position vacant, and that employee retired, and I am still working with HR to post that on our website. Our division, of course, we continue to fill these vacancies as quickly as possible and working with DCA budgets to request limited term positions to be made permanent full-time. Breeze updates. We had talked at the last board meeting regarding requests that we submitted to OIS DCA, and just a screenshot of, there's 3 of them. One was adding CE batch jobs for additional functionality due to the CE audits, and this will be did not make the November release due to limited number of regulation changes. The next future release is scheduled for March 2018. The second one was adding a web link to the initial application transaction, and this should be completed in the January release. And the third one for Psychiatric, removing the duplicate eligibility end date, RSD, from the exam app and the re-exam transaction. That was completed in the September release. So we will have 2 pending that we'll update at the next board meeting. Committee updates. All committees related to admin and licensing have met since the last board meeting. The licensing committee met twice. The admin committee met once. Evaluations committee met once. And the Ledge Reg met once. And you guys have heard those reports. We'll all meet again in the next quarter prior to the next board meeting. Those dates are to be determined. In support services unit, the reception front counter, in an effort to address the wait times and increase the amount of calls handled and resolved, we are actively working with DCA HR on creating a call center for the board and requesting additional positions. In addition, management continues to provide tools, information, and training to the front counter reception staff. Specifically, we've addressed the output, input, and how it relates to productivity, keeping teamwork as our focal point and customer service as our number one goal. On page 3, there's just a snapshot of calls received in the last quarter, which is July through September. And then also the bottom one, the average mainline wait times for July, August, and September as well. And these numbers are what we're using to justify for the call center. We're just going to go back the last 12 months is what they're requesting. Number of licensee applicants assisted at the front counter. You can see for July there was 315, August 384, and September 363. To date, the board is responding to all BVNPT email inquiries within 2 to 3 business days. And below you'll see the amount of emails received for July, August, and September as well.
May I ask if there's a backlog on the emails?
There is not. Current.
Can I ask a question about a previous table or chart? The calls received, there was a big spike between July and August. Is that it went from 11,485 to 19,494? That's almost, I mean, it's not quite twice as big, but it's really large. Is that when you started measuring?
No,
or?
We've always measured.
Okay.
I will speak, again, this is Rochelle's unit,
Okay.
but I do have an idea of probably the peak. It's because the pocket card discontinuation was talked about during this month because we had been planning, the board, I believe, met in July and made that decision to discontinue the pocket cards. So then we began outreach in August. So that would substantiate these numbers.
Yeah.
I'm on page 5 now. For cashiering, the cashiering unit has 3 permanent full-time office technicians. For processing times in-house, for all payments, for July it was 673, August 783, September 692, quarterly average being 716. For the number of processed payments in-house for VN renewals, quarterly average 203, examinations 276, re-exams 107, interim permits 5, initial license 65, and verification 60. Number of processed payments online for the same areas that I just spoke on. For renewals, you can see online they're way more higher, which we promote that. Quarterly average for renewals is 2,437, examinations 372, re-exams 327, interim permits 17, initial license 536, verifications 85. For psychiatric technicians, number of processed payments in-house for renewals, quarter average was 20, examination 41, re-examination 22, and initial license 5. And then for processed payments online for renewals, quarterly average of 261, examinations 20, re-exams 5, and initial license 30. Any questions on that? For the mailroom, the board's mailroom receives a significantly large amount of mail on Mondays. The board currently has one full-time limited-term staff member dedicated to this function, which has been vacant since August. The board will be requesting this position made full-time permanent to better meet the needs of the board. Currently, the workload is being absorbed by 2 permanent staff members. Amount of mail received for the quarterly average is 3,814. Under support services, VN initial licensing processing. Since the last quarter, the board has successfully decreased its online initial license fee application processing time from approximately 6 weeks to 1 week. The initial license fee application processing times for in-house, the quarterly average in weeks is 3. Online, 1 week. Number of initial license fee applications approved, quarterly average 584. For Voc nursing re-exam processing, the processing times in weeks for in-house is 3, and same with online. Number of re-exam applications approved for the quarter, the average was 365. Under the evaluations unit, the military applicants, the board completed updating its form to assist with expediting military personnel who have served as an active duty member and was honorably discharged. Preparations were made and submitted and now is with legal, and they are actually in review. With that, the applications for evaluation, a continued decrease in processing times for most app types for VN and PTs occurred during this quarter due to a change in how applications were assigned. The board reported in our previous report that we will decrease our processing times in equivalency applications in this quarter as the evaluation unit will be fully staffed and new evaluator staff will be trained on the applications. I spoke on that at the August board meeting, and in September is when 3 staff members were trained on equivalency apps, which means all my evaluators are now processing the equivalencies. As indicated on the next page, we decrease our processing times by 16.6% for equivalency applications.
I have one question, Ms. Johnson. I'm sorry. On page 8 of 9, again, thank you for the report and thank you for filling in for the other Ms. Johnson. Something is curious to me. On the application evaluations, it says type of application, school online or school in-house, right?
Correct.
So the VN is 1.3 and 1.5, but the psych techs are 2.8 and 3.2, almost double. Why does that happen?
I'll speak on that when I get there. So for schools online, the quarterly average for VN was 1.3 weeks, and at the last board meeting, I reported 2 weeks. Schools in-house are 1.5 weeks quarterly average. Equivalency, 19 weeks, and at the last board meeting, we were at 23 weeks. So that's where that 16.6 decrease. Verifications online, 6.9 weeks. Verifications in-house, a little over 5 weeks. Endorsements online, 1 week, and endorsements in-house, 1 week. To answer Ms. James Perez's question on the psych techs, why it's higher, is we had our evaluator during this time retire, and so she was the only one processing the PT apps, and so I had to get everybody trained during this quarter. All my evaluators are processing PT apps now. Prior to the last board meeting, we reported there was only one evaluator, and she retired from vacation, came in and retired right then. So I had no time to, prepare for that.
And recall, this is a part of the joining the VN and PT budgets. That's part of the process. You had one PT staff only did PT, VN staff only did VN. So there was one PT one staff person who handled all the applications
Because
for
they were
PT.
separate budgets. basically.
That's
Yes.
exactly
Schools,
right.
okay.
So now that that has changed, what we now have, all staff are evaluating VN and PT applications, so that we would expect that that data would go down.
And welcome to the Michelle Johnson who's joined us. And so what you're saying now basically is everyone's cross-trained.
Yes.
Cross-trained, so there'll be a more.
And I would like
quality
to, just give kudos to my staff. They had PT, psych tech procedures that were outdated, and they were able to basically process the PT application, create whole new set of procedures for PTs. We were trained, we held a training. They are all on board. And at my last huddle last week, I just asked them, like, can you guys give me any feedback on the PT app processing so that I can, speak on it? And everybody is good. Everybody's processing them. So we should see an increase. However, I am still short-staffed. So I do want to keep that in mind. At the next board meeting, I will still be reporting September, October, November. Schools for PTs in-house, 3.2 weeks. Equivalency, 7 weeks. Re-exam, 3 weeks. And initial license, 3 weeks. The results desk, processing times for July, August, September, they range about a little under 3 weeks, average. And then for psych techs, for July, it was 1.5 week. And August, September, we do not have any data because that's when our PT evaluator was gone. And to my own fault, I forgot to remind the new evaluators that were doing the PTs to capture this. But training was done, they're on board. So we will have that information at the next board meeting. PC donation, I just wanted to touch on that at the last board meeting. I spoke that we were working with Natomas Unified School District and coordinating the delivery of 16 PCs and 4 laptops that were used but deemed in good condition to help schools in effort to provide higher education to students. However, Natomas declined the offer, and we moved to another school, which was San Juan School District. They also declined. So due to the deadlines that we had to meet, the board moved forward with DGS property reuse, and we're scheduled for next Tuesday for delivery on those. Any questions?
Great work.
Thank you. And then
And
now
good
we're on-
luck. I just want to say good luck finding the staff so that we can continue seeing these reports.
Yes.
Glowing reports. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last part of the EO's report is the staffing update.
I got it. And this does not include enforcement, as Mr. Vu did his update on the staffing. So this is for administrative and licensing update. The licensing division, which includes admin, support services, and evaluations unit, currently has an overall vacancy rate of 22%. That does not include promotions or the conditional offers or final offers made to new staff that will be starting within the next week and the following week. Like I said, we had staff promotions. One was in my unit. Actually, they were both in my unit, but one went to enforcement and the other one was promoted to the SSA in my unit. New employees promotions for admin and licensing. For support services was Erin Carter, our HR liaison. She started in September. Ebony Ball, office technician, receptionist, started October 2nd. Again, in evaluations, that was my promotion. My PT2 went to an SSA. And also in the education unit, we have an SSA from enforcement that promoted to an AGPA under education, Miss Geraldine, sitting right there. For vacancies, those were our new employees or promotions. For vacancies, we have the AEO position, and those are pending interviews. For evaluations, the Ledge Reg position is under my unit, and we had some difficulty filling that position. We had 2 sets of interviews that happened. One set there was only 4 candidates, and none of them had ledge reg experience and just didn't meet. The second round of interviews, I did select somebody, but they did not. They were new to the state, and HR deemed them that they did not meet MQs. So we had talked about redirecting this position to maybe the AEO, something like that. But since this board meeting and when I wrote this report, you guys have voted on to fill the position. So I will work with HR Monday and getting this posted again.
And just as a point of clarification, the ledge reg analyst position will be filled. However, it will not be under the evaluations unit. It will end up under the assistant executive officer, and in terms of clarity.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Also in my unit, I talked about the PT2s. There were 2 of them. The one I have forward, I did 2 sets of interviews and have selected a candidate, and she is at HR, or her paperwork is at HR, and we're waiting for them to check MQs. So we were advised, they were at like 3 to 4 days on checking those, and because of backlog, they're at 10 days right now, which will be next week. And then also my office tech, who is the PT evaluator that retired. I was going to bring up that position in our HR reorg meeting next week to reclass it to a PT2. But if that's a no-go, I'll still just fly it as an OT so we can get moving on filling that position. For support services unit, there's a AGPA, the board analyst. A candidate was selected, and she starts on Monday. And then I did speak about the office supervisor 3. That is, we have a permanent employee in that position, and she's doing the training and development in the budget analyst, Miss Colma. And then there's an office tech limited term. A conditional offer was made, and it's pending fingerprints. For the education division, we have, I know Rochelle was working with HR, and there is listed on number 1 an NEC limited term. We do not have that position. So that's not a true vacancy. Number 2, there is a full-time permanent NEC that's pending interviews. We're waiting on Miss Anderson to return back full-time. And then the supervising NEC, those are pending interviews as well. And that's it for the staffing update.
And I would also like to commend the staff. If you recall, in June, we had the majority of the management positions were vacant. We have now filled all of those positions. The only remaining one would be the supervising investigator position. Interviews, a second round of interviews have been held, and we hope to have that position filled shortly. In addition, a number of the other vacancies have been filled. We have also promoted a number of staff with in-house. If we didn't have positions consistent with their abilities, then we assisted them in obtaining promotions with other agencies so that we overall have staff satisfaction. I would like to express my appreciation to all of the staff for their outstanding efforts. In addition, as you know, I was out for the last 6 weeks on sick leave, and they carried on, and you have the data that you have before, and I just need to express my appreciation to them publicly and to you board members.
And Cheryl, one question. For the AEO position,
yes,
I know that we have applicants there, and do you have an idea of when you intend to proceed with interviews?
Within the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And Brian, are you going to come back up and finish the agenda item that was 16?
Yeah, we talked about that. We met and reviewed the recommendations of. Yeah, we did that. Sorry. I just want to make sure. Thank you. We will move on to agenda item 24 to review and adopt the August 25th board meeting minutes.
It is identified as 26, right?
26A.
Oh, sorry. It's identified as 26A, yes. My numbering is off as usual. So to review and adopt the board meeting minutes from August 24th and 25th. Is there any questions from board members?
Yes, I have a correction.
Okay, Cheryl.
Page 11, under agenda item 20, referring to Legislation and Regulations Committee. Second bullet point. I want to clarify the language here. It states, committee presented to the board a measure to remove certain authority from the board to act on legislation and regulations between scheduled meetings. And I think that we need to change. I don't think that was what was stated.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. It was.
Well, someone used the word delegated, which we can use. I want, committee presented to the board a measure to delegate authority to the legislation and regulation committee between schedule. Oh, wait a minute. Someone used the word delegate. Let me start all over with my words. Okay, committee presented to the board a measure for the legislation and regulations committee to act between scheduled meetings based on known board positions. Is that fine? Are you
Based on knowledge of boards.
known position? It's based on the board's, based on the known position of the board.
Basically, that's what we adopted earlier today.
Yes, but the way it's written just needs
The
to
way
be
it was written here.
fine-tuned because it's not what we discussed. Okay.
You want this revised to reflect what we did this morning? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Okay.
Yes.
We can do that.
Any other discussion by board members?
If there are no further corrections or omissions, I would move the minutes of the August 24th and 25th meetings.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, any public comment? None. So we have a motion made by John and seconded by Bernice to accept board meeting minutes from August 24th and 25th, 2017. So
As corrected.
as corrected, as amended.
Or amended.
We'll do a roll call vote. Alita? Paul?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. It was unanimous. So we're on agenda item 25, which is a report and recommendation and possible actions regarding future meeting dates. I know that that was not put in the packets, sorry. But it is in the August 25th 24th and 25th meeting minutes. It is on page 31, agenda item 26, future meeting dates. So,
Also been in Ontario.
oh, the 18th. December. Yeah. So we'll add to the future meeting dates would be the one on December 18th of this year, which is going to be a special, it wasn't on August, it's going to be a special board meeting. And that will be here in Sacramento. And then the other would be in 2018, February 22 and 23 in Southern California. The location, the actual location of where we will hold the meeting will be to be determined pending contracts and the finalization of the location. May 16, 17, and 18, 2018 will be Sacramento. August 23 and 24 in Southern California, and November 14th, 15th, and 16th in Sacramento. The added date to the Sacramento meetings is so that we can hopefully alleviate staying here till 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night on dates that we have closed session items, and to get the trainings and updates that we need for administrative items that need to be done.
Madam President.
And to add those things, the additional reports that the board requested. In 2019, the anticipated dates are February 21, 22, and 23 in Southern California. Why is there 3 on all board meetings?
Well, thank you.
I believe the February will be that Thursday and Friday, so I believe that would be the 22 and 23, not the 21st. May 15, 16, and 17 in Sacramento. August 22 and 23 in Southern California. November 20, 21, and 22 in Sacramento. Those are the anticipated dates for 2019.
So November is 3 days?
November would be 3 days.
Madam President,
Yes?
can I move to accept the 2018 and 2019 dates as reflected in page 31 of our August minutes, and with the addition of December 18th, as you indicated?
Mine with the amended.
With the date that you mentioned of December 18th, 2017.
Yeah, but also the amended for the February minus the 21st.
Correct, thank you. With the amended date of February 22 and 23 only of 2019.
Second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, the motion is made by Samantha and seconded by John to accept the future meeting dates on 2018 and 2019 with the amended February 2019 to be only the 22nd and 23rd, and added December 18th in 2017. And we'll start with a roll call vote. Cheryl?
Yes.
Samantha?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Bernice?
Yes.
Paula?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
It was unanimous. Motion carries. And that brings us to agenda item 26. Public comment on items not on the agenda. Individuals may appear before the board at this time to discuss items not on the agenda. The board may not discuss or take any action on any item raised during public comment section, except to decide whether to place it on the agenda of a future meeting. Government Code Sections 11125 and 11125.7a. I will now entertain comments from the public. Please approach.
At the table.
If we could have you here at the table. Sorry.
My name is Dr. Ike Moneko with Advanced Medical School of Nursing, the administrator. I would like to start by thanking the board for the excellent work that the board has been doing. Sometimes there's always a tendency for us to complain, but we never stop to say thank you for the good job. We really appreciate the good job that the board has been doing, and if the audience will join me in giving them a big round of applause, that'd be awesome. Please, let's do that. They deserve that. And my next comment is, we have a directors forum, and from my experience running a program, sometimes as an administrator, you hire a DON, you get a consultant, you kind of rely on them to tell you what to do, pretty much, And I've been wondering if it's a possibility to have administrators forum too, or maybe combine that with the DON's forums, so that the administrators can get a hands-on what is required of the DON. This is just an idea that I've been floating, if that is a possibility. Something to do, or if it's necessary, something to do. That's, the board might consider that. And the reason is, in any normal business, you know what the deliverables are, what is expected. And sometimes, in this type of business, you really don't know. You read the regs, but you require a professional to tell you what to do, and you kind of rely on the professional. And when the professional doesn't deliver, then you find yourself in a hardship. So it would be nice if the administrator has a forum where they kind of brainstorm and say, this is annually, monthly, these are the reports that you should be expecting from your DONs. If it's not there, ask for it. So this is just an idea that I'm throwing out there for the board. And also, I noticed that Ms. Cheryl Anderson is shown as the interim executive director, which I think is great for the board to go that route. And I would like to recommend her for the position of that executive director. And my reason is that since I started this journey, it's been a long time. I've worked with Ms. Anderson, and I know that she has extensive knowledge, management, and leadership skills to steer this organization in the right direction. I remember a while back when there were maybe only about 2 or 3, maybe 2 NECs, or maybe she might even have been the only person. I've been around for a while. She might even be the only person at that time. And she held it together for a long time, still returned phone calls, still returned all the emails, still gave you all the necessary advice. She never stopped. So this position coming up, I think with her as a leader, she will do a wonderful job and get this get the programs running very smoothly. So I'm recommending her to the board for the board to really consider her in that position. Thank you so very much, and that's all I have.
Madam President, would you consider repeating the announcement made last night?
But I don't have my documents with me. So in summary, on Wednesday, we went into closed session to do the interviews for the executive officer, the board did. And we had a very difficult selection to do because all the candidates were great. And one of them won out overall. So the board directed the board president, well, the board decided to have Ms. Cheryl Anderson as the new executive officer. And the board directed the board president to send a letter of recommendation to the governor because, as you know, AB 1229 was enacted or was passed. Therefore, the appointment authority will then go January 1st, 2018 to the governor. So the board would like us to state our position as to whom we would like to be in there. That doesn't guarantee that Cheryl will be there, but it is our hopes that she will remain.
Awesome. I think she will make a very wonderful, great candidate for the position. Thank you.
Before you leave, I'm so sorry. I'm new to the board, and so I wanted just some clarification on your idea that you mentioned earlier. Can you just clarify it for me? I quite didn't understand it.
Yes, I can. Let me just take, for example, a school as an administrator. There's certain I need to know what the board requires of the school to deliver. And I know it's the job of the DON. However, as the administrator, I've hired a DON, I've hired a consultant to tell me what to do. And if they don't deliver, if they don't tell me what I need to know, I'm relying on them. There is no way I know you could say go and read the reg. That's true, that's an option, but that's why we hire people to do that for us. If they don't deliver, however, if we have, then I won't have a way of knowing that this report is due at the end of the month, that we're supposed to do so and so. For instance, we have I'm just going to use a simple example. We have a student that we admitted that has a CNO certificate, and this individual is supposed to get credit for it. And I don't know that that's supposed to be the case. This individual doesn't get the credit. The DON or the consultant didn't tell me that. Then the NC comes out and says, why didn't you guys give this individual credit? If I had been in a forum that kind of we discussed this on an ongoing basis, this is what you expect from your DON, then I would have been asking the question, why wasn't this done? So it will help me to administer the program if I can network. I know I do call my colleagues, other schools, but if we can get together occasionally as administrators like the DONs do, the DONs forums I always go is very, very beneficial. The DONs are kind of given an idea of what to do and how to run the schools, how to run the program very successfully. But the administrators most times really don't have that kind of information. So that's what I'm hoping, that if it is at all possible to either do similar things for the administrator. I hope I'm answering your question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, thank you. We'll move to agenda item 27, suggestions for future agenda items. Individuals may request future agenda items. At this time, the board may not discuss or take action on any matter except to decide whether to place the matter on the agenda for a future meeting, Government Code Sections 11125 and 11125.7a. That's for board members. So, seeing none? Cheryl?
Well, we just have to follow up on whatever it was we were working on. Certainly, we had an action item that the education committee was going to come back with some additional criteria on the pass rate. So that's one.
For its implementation.
For its implementation.
It is so noted, and the education committee will be very busy so that we will have a quality report as requested by the board.
And I think that we're going to have a follow-up of some feedback on the fee audit survey. These are all action items, so I don't know if I need to repeat action items or not as a
No, I believe that they will
items.
be
Okay.
new items or future items that you'd like to see.
Madam President, during one of the data collection meetings, I was asked, why can't we have education committee meetings in Southern California? And I don't have an answer. I do know we have them here because we need staff present. But I'm just bringing that up, and I promised I would. So it's in the record.
Ken, would that require a full board discussion about having that, or?
This agenda item is limited to determining future agenda items. The location of the Education Committee meeting is not controlled by the board itself. So I think it would be up to the Education Committee to determine its meeting locations based on available budget and other considerations.
Thank you.
It is now in the record as a request of someone who was present at one of the data gathering sessions in Southern California. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to agenda item 28. So we shall adjourn this meeting at 3:31.
So
Need a
also
motion?
move.
Second, if you need it.
And we need a third.
No? So Samantha made the motion, Cheryl seconded it, we're adjourned.
Sure.